Some folks just don't understand what it takes to be a good neighbor. Take Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. Their Project 2025 will make things much, much harder for people who are just trying to live their lives. If these guys get back in the White House, they'll start jacking up the costs on the middle class. They'll repeal the Affordable Care Act. They'll gut Social Security and Medicare. And they will ban abortion across this country. If you're a middle-class family or a family trying to get into the middle class, Kamala Harris is going to cut your taxes. If you're getting squeezed by prescription drug prices, Kamala Harris is going to take on Big Pharma. If you're hoping to buy a home, Kamala Harris is going to help make it more affordable. And no matter who you are, Kamala Harris is going to stand up and fight for your freedom to live the life that you want to lead.
Democratic Governor of California, Gavin Newsom, joins me. Good evening, sir. Nice to see you. And
it's good to be
just
with
to
you,
put things in perspective, California has the 5th largest economy in the world. It's giant. So you have a lot of different problems, I suspect, than some of the other states. So tell me, what are your biggest challenges as the governor of California?
Well, Greta, you're exactly right. Not only the 5th largest economy in the world, we're the size of 21 state populations combined. 27% of our state is foreign-born. So I think foundationally, it's the ability to live and advance together across every conceivable and imaginable difference. That's our #1 challenge. That said, it's also challenging in this respect. It's America, but only more so. We have more hunting jobs, more manufacturing jobs, more ag and farming jobs than any other state in the nation. At the same time, we're the birthplace of life science, nanotech, biotechnology, and of course, AI. 35 of the top 50 AI companies in the world in California. So it's a dynamic state, it's a challenge state, but #1 issue beyond any other is the issue of affordability, the issue of housing and its byproduct, which is its ultimate manifestation of our failure, and that's the issue of homelessness.
How did you get to that point, though? I mean, it's a problem that's plagued every state in the nation, but certainly California, because it is such a large state, we see the enormous impact on it. But how did California get so much homelessness?
I mean, because of our own policies and neglect. We put up our feet. We rested on our laurels. We allowed NIMBYism to dominate in our state. We're not building, it's Econ 101, supply demand. We simply have not been building enough housing for decades and decades and decades. So the cost of living, affordability, has been the dominant challenge in our state. That said, I will say, having traveled across the United States, the issue of housing and homelessness is becoming more and more dominant. Red states, not just blue states. We're down, you saw the new numbers last year in places like Florida that had a huge spike in homelessness. The housing costs, insurance costs across the board in states like Florida are increasingly challenging. So it's not surprising to me that in the economic plan that Kamala Harris put out, she talked about affordability and housing, not just from the prism of being a former Californian as it relates to her time served in the state, but as vice president understanding the United States and its challenges.
Well, she got roundly criticized by the Washington Post in her editorial for her economy, her speech on the economy. So she got criticized. And look, it's early on. I realize that we're sort of like in the celebratory stages of both parties now. Of course, now the campaign. Now we're really going to find out what the candidates are going to do beginning, I hope, tomorrow. But tell me, if you were president, what would you do about the inflation? Because people go to the grocery store and they're shocked by how much they spend. Well, if you were president, what would you do with the economy?
Well, I mean, right now, we're the envy of the rest of the world. I know that 818,000 new jobs were just adjusted, but we're now down to a shockingly high number of jobs created by the Biden-Harris administration, 14.9 million. By the way, that's 11 times more than the last 3 Republican administrations combined. We blew past pre-pandemic employment levels within a year and a half of the Biden-Harris administration. Manufacturing jobs up 800,000, down 154,000 under the Trump administration. He lost 2.9 million jobs. So it's, I think Governor, you build on that success, and we continue to tame inflation.
I guess, I always think about what Mark Twain said about numbers. I mean, the numbers come rolling at us from both parties, but the truth is what people feel. And it's like, no matter, how good everybody's program is, if you can't buy groceries, or if the diapers are too expensive, that's what you really feel. And the question is, how do you get those, on a micro basis, how do you get that handled?
Well, I mean, obviously, there's a lot of strategies and theories, but let's just deal with the most important dynamic. It was the issue of taming inflation that peaked, yes, at 9.1%, forgive the data point, but it's down to 2.9%. Inflation was hardly unique in the United States of America. It was a dominant issue all around the rest of the world, except for a few economies that were contracting, a few economies that were struggling. There's no economy growing like the United States of America. By the way, Wall Street Journal said it best, we're the envy of the world. And by the way, in that same Wall Street Journal today, on the issue of policy, Karl Rove himself made the point there'll be plenty of time for policy details. Conventions are about why and what. We'll have plenty of time to talk about the details of how.
Okay, I guess we're the envy of the world, but just not to be so sarcastic, but we're not doing, I'd like to do a whole lot better. But anyway, having said that, you have a southern border. Fentanyl, you've got a problem with fentanyl like every other single city and state in this country. Can you give me sort of an idea of the problem in your state and also your border?
Well, it's a major problem. It's one we've been tackling from day one since 2019. I actually just doubled the number of personnel that we've placed, National Guards, men and women, on our southern border. We have the largest border in the Western Hemisphere in the state of California. I have 394 National Guards men and women working on counter-narcotics, working with Border Patrol, working with Customs and Border Patrol. We just significantly increased that support to supplement the rank of those that are on the border doing good work every single day. I was just last week in a cartel tunnel, learning more firsthand underground, not just above ground, about what's happening currently. And I also had the opportunity to meet with President Xi directly on the issue of fentanyl. And one of the commitments and promises were made that was advanced at APEC was just codified a few weeks ago as it relates to their commitment, now firm and in writing, as it relates to addressing the issues of precursor chemicals.
As an aside, as President Xi of China got pretty angry with former Speaker Pelosi going to Taiwan, so he backed out of the deal for a while. So, I mean, he's not exactly the most reliable partner in this, and they are the supplier that goes to the cartel. All right, but let me talk. Do you have to balance your budget in California?
Important part of the larger conversation.
All right. Do you? I can't remember. Do you have to balance the budget in California?
Not only we balanced it, I balanced not only this year's deficit, I balanced next year's projected deficits, the first two-year budget in California history. By the way, just this last December, the last checks went out, $18.1 billion of tax rebates, the largest of any state in American history. So the books are balanced. We have still the highest reserves in our history. Bond rating was maintained. We didn't take much of those reserves, and we were able to balance it on the basis of incredible economic expansion in 2020 and 2021, where we were able to fiscally put aside money for one-time purposes for the inevitability of a slowdown as it relates to capital gains.
All right, now I want to tease you a little bit, and this is not your fault, but just to let you know is that every year I get about a $3 tax refund from the state of California, and for the life of me, I can't figure out why, and I'm afraid to cash them because I don't want to get into your system. But anyway, I get it that's not your fault. Anyway, Governor Gavin Newsom from California. Thank you, sir.
Great to be with you, Greta.